Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am the Omni viewer, and this is just a little thing I wanted to do before Kong Skull Island comes out. I am really looking forward to this movie, and I'm really looking forward to discussing it in my unscripted videos that I'll be producing. Yes, I said videos. I know I'm going to do a regular one. I haven't decided if I'm going to do a spoiler one or not. That really depends on what strikes me. However, there is something I wanted to make clear going in. No matter how this movie turns out, I will not be comparing it to Godzilla. I'm sure there are a lot of reviewers out there who are going to be doing that, drawing some sort of comparison regarding the characters or the amount of screen time for the monsters or some such thing, but I refuse to do that. I am going to be judging Kong Skull Island entirely on its own because, as far as I can tell, Kong Skull Island is a completely different movie from Godzilla. But Omni viewer, you living Adonis, I hear you say. How can you say they are different films? Kong Skull Island and Godzilla are both giant monster movies. Therefore, they are the same and can be compared to each other. Now, yes, technically they are both giant monster movies. But you see, that's only speaking in a very general sense. When you get down to the specifics, they are in fact very different. To demonstrate what I mean, let's move away from these movies for a moment and look at something else. Let's say I wanted to review 2001: A Space Odyssey. It's a sci-fi movie set in space. Now let's say that in this hypothetical review, I compared 2001 to Star Wars, and I based a large part of my conclusions on how 2001 measured up to Star Wars. Does that seem right to you? Sure, they're both sci-fi movies set in space, but look at how incredibly different they are. 2001 is a very restrained, very minimalist film that strives for realism and has a lot of different things to say about humanity's place in the greater cosmos. Star Wars, meanwhile, is very over the top, about as unrealistic as you can get, and tells a very straightforward good versus evil story. To say they are comparable based on superficial similarities, and thus decide which one is better than the other, is a bad reviewing technique. Or let's move away even farther from the realm of the fantastic. Let's talk about, say, the Western genre. You know, that genre everyone says they don't like, but when they list their top favorite films, there's at least one Western on there. Take a movie like Tombstone. Tombstone is a great film, right? If you haven't seen Tombstone, you need to see it. Make that a priority. Now, suppose I were to review Tombstone, but I decided that part of that review would be comparing it to a film based on The Lone Ranger. Well, they're both westerns, but one of them is a historical drama, and the other is a pulpy proto-superhero adventure. Someone who says they're both westerns, so they're basically the same thing, is either being incredibly dismissive, or doesn't realize that one is based in fact and the other is pure fiction. They are incredibly different, so you can't really base a review on comparing them. Ah, but Godzilla and Kong are now both part of a shared cinematic universe. Isn't that a proper justification for comparing the two to see which one does better? Well, I sure don't think so. Just look at the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Look at how many different genres that's covered. Technological thriller, heist movie, pulp-influenced historical fiction, monster movie, high fantasy, film noir, legal drama, alien invasion, political thriller, blaxploitation homage, espionage, sci-fi horror police procedural mashup, space opera. Shall I go on, or have I made my point clear? Even in a shared continuity, the genres can be so widespread and so different from each other that comparison between any two random films doesn't work. That's how I'm treating Godzilla and Kong Skull Island. Godzilla is a serious, dramatic, horror-infused disaster movie. Kong Skull Island, according to the trailers, is a more light-hearted action-adventure. Sure, they both have giant monsters in them, and sure, there's a military aspect, but the similarities really kind of end there. Now, of course, it's possible the trailers have been lying to us. If it turns out Kong Skull Island and Godzilla really are just the same movie with different coats of paint, then a comparison would indeed be justified. But the way things are looking right now, they're both very different movies. Thus, I will be reviewing Kong Skull Island entirely on its own merits. I'm just letting you know this now so I don't spend too much time explaining it in my unscripted video. Well, that's all for now. Until such time as we meet again, this is the Omni Viewer, signing off.